So let's say that you've got $400 and you want to get an action camera because you want to get the best action camera for your money in 2023. Is the GoPro Hero 12, is it going to be the action camera that you really need to get? This is going to be the verdict of the GoPro Hero 12 after my use with it over the last 3 weeks. And we're going to talk about the GoPro Hero 12 and whether I recommend getting it or not. And that's coming right up. So as I've said, I've had the GoPro Hero 12 now for a little bit over 3 weeks. And, I guess the real question, and I wanted to be very, very thorough about what my opinion was, whether you should get this or not, because I've had all the other GoPros, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and now this 12. And is it worth upgrading? Now, I will tell you, if I were to do it again, yes, I would get the 12. But I'll talk about why my mentality is about why I wanted to get to 12. Well, of course, I wanted to review it. I did the community post asking people what they thought about, if they wanted to hear my opinion about the GoPro Hero 12. And it was a resounding yes, they wanted to hear my opinion, or you people wanted to hear my opinion on it. And I will say that there are some things that are pros, there are some things that are cons. This is just my honest review of what my personal thoughts are about the GoPro Hero 12. GoPro has nothing to do with this video. GoPro's never sent me a product ever. They probably never will, because I'm very, what's the word I want to use? I'm brutally honest about products. I am not a salesperson. I don't try to pitch a product. If I like a product, I tell you, I think it's a great product for the money. And I guess that's what it comes down to, because there's a lot of products out there that you can buy that are $50. So let's say it's a $50 action camera, and you think to yourself, well, $50 is my budget. Is it a good action camera for $50? If it lives up to its price, I say yes. It's a $50 action camera is going to have some negatives, understandably. But when we're talking about GoPro, if you have the GoPro Hero 9, or let's say the GoPro Hero 8, 9, 10, 11, is it worth upgrading up to the 12? And is the 12 just a firmware updated GoPro Hero 11? And if you've watched some of my videos, I've already talked about my opinion regarding, I think that the 12 is a firmware updated 11. Yes, it's got some speckles that they put on the outside of the casing. One of the big negatives that a lot of people are having trouble with is the fact that GoPro took away the GPS module and they can't do that GPS overlay. For me, I've never used a GPS overlay, but I could see that if you're really into action sports, and let's say you've got this on a car, or you've got it on your motorcycle or on your dirt bike, and you want to be able to have that overlay, it's nice to have the GPS chip in the camera. GoPro took that away, but then again, they went from a $499 price tag initially with the GoPro Hero 11, and they brought it down to $399 for the Hero 12. So there had to be some kind of sacrifice. Nothing else internally has changed regarding the sensor size, the resolution of the camera, the 2 screens on it, the body of it, and nothing's changed on it except the speckles, like I said, and now they've added a new interface. And I will say, I'm going to turn this on real quick so that you know what I'm talking about. The interface on it is a lot different. So one of the things that bugs me a little bit about this GoPro Hero 12, and hopefully they're going to address it, is the lagginess of the touchscreen, because sometimes you can touch it and nothing happens. Well, of course, now it's going to work perfectly, because that's the way it works when you're doing a video. But the new menu layout, there we go, it didn't work that time. And I like the fact that they added HDR. The log, which I talked about before, and I was trying to wait for them to update the firmware. They did a firmware update after my initial video about the GoPro Hero 12, but they did not do another one, and I don't want to wait for 3 or 4 months. I want to be able to tell you kind of, after 3.5 weeks now with the camera, is it actually worth getting? So without making this a really long video, I will say there's one thing about the GoPro Hero 12 that I do like. And yes, it's still the same 5.3K resolution, but the image stabilization is a little bit better than what's on the 11. If you do the just regular profile of the camera, not HDR, not log, but if you do just a regular profile, it's very similar to what the GoPro Hero 11 is. So similar that unless you are super pixel peeping, you're not going to see any difference. So my recommendation would be, if you have the GoPro Hero 11 already, unless you like the HDR function, and I want to touch on that here in just a moment, but unless you really want that HDR function, I would stick with the 11 and save yourself $400 and maybe think about getting the DJI Action 4, because the Action 4 is everything that the Action 3 should have been. But this is about GoPro. We'll talk about the Action 4 in the next video. I like the HDR look that comes out of the 12. Yes, GoPro, they added the little finger feet with a 1/4 on the bottom, and that's nice. And it's really funny because there were some third-party vendors that actually came out and offered a GoPro feet with a 1/4 in it, and I did a video on that a while back. I'll put a link to that video up here, and I put it on my GoPro Hero 8 and put it on the 9 and put it on the 10. Yes, I've got it on 10. I don't have it on the 11. GPS is not a big deal to me. Overheating, I found for me in the testing that I've done that the GoPro Hero 12 actually overheats just a little bit. It takes a little bit longer for it to overheat than what the 11 does, but there's still an overheating issue. There's one thing that I have, and I mean, I've got terabytes worth of video that I've taken with the GoPro Hero 12, and it's never froze on me once. I never had to pull the battery out and push it back in and do a reset on it. Everything seems to work as it should. The rear screen a little bit laggy. I wish that they fixed that, and they may tweak it just a little bit. The new menu layout is very different, but the more that I use it, the more that I like it. And keep in mind, I am not a GoPro fanboy at all. So if you've watched this channel, I've kind of built this channel basically on budget items and budget action cameras. And the thing that started it was years and years ago, I didn't want to spend $500 on a GoPro Hero 4 because I was like, man, that's a lot of money. And it's still a lot of money here in 2023. And SJ Cam, the SJ4000, I think it was my first action camera. And for a fraction of the price, yes, the video quality maybe wasn't the same and all that, but it was budget minded. And it's so funny because you see so many times, and I see so many comments in the videos where people are asking me, can you compare this SJ camera, this Akaso to the GoPro Hero 8 or the 10 or whatever. You know, the GoPro Hero 9 is when they first came out with this new body style, where it was much larger than the GoPro Hero 8. The GoPro Hero 8 took away the removable cap over the lens, and a lot of people had a little problem with it. And I did too, because I actually dropped my GoPro and chipped the outside corner, but luckily it's not in the field of view. But the GoPro Hero 12, I think, is a very good camera. For me, the HDR is the biggest plus, but when you're doing the HDR video with the GoPro Hero 12, to me, it's not like the HDR that would trigger an HDR monitor. And it's not the HDR like you would get on your cell phone, or at least on your iPhone. But it is a little bit brighter. It does offer a little bit more dynamic range, and the image to me is a little bit more pleasing. But the HDR is the determining factor for me. So if you don't care about the HDR, and I've been kind of showing some examples throughout this video of what the HDR looks like, but if you like the look of the HDR, then I would say yes, the $399 for the GoPro Hero 12 is definitely worth it. If you don't care about the HDR and you think that the GoPro Hero 11 image quality is fine, stick with the 11. If you have the 10, stick with the 10, because basically it comes down to, if you're happy with the camera that you have, do not get caught up in gear acquisition syndrome. Don't get caught up in it, because everybody's always about the latest and greatest. So like with Sony, Sony's been dumping cameras, and I say dumping, they've been producing and releasing cameras like crazy here the last couple of months. And a lot of people are just like, well, you know, do I have to get the ZV-E1? Do I need to get this? Do I need to get the FX3? Do I need to get this? But whenever it comes to action cameras, when you have an action camera, you want something that's going to be durable. GoPro is a durable camera. I like the fact that if you were to scratch the lens on this, no worries, just order another one and replace the cap and you're good to go. But I'll put product links down in the description below. And by the way, quick thank you to the members of this channel. I'll list them right over here. And thank you to Tim for buying me a cup of coffee. I appreciate it. And if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, you can in the link down below. And that's my thoughts on the GoPro Hero 12, the verdict. And though I'm not a judge, I will, since the channel is called Worth It or Not, so I'm going to be the judge here, giving the verdict on the GoPro Hero 12. I think it's worth it if the image quality is what you're looking for. You like that HDR. If the HDR is not a big deal to you, stick with the 11, stick with the 10. If you've got the 9, get the medium mod so you don't have to worry about the audio crackling. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the GoPro Hero 12. Wonder what the 13 is going to be like. You know, I don't think they're going to come out with a 13, because a lot of people consider 13 a very unlucky number. So they may even change the Hero line and not even call it a Hero. It may be something totally different. Who knows at this point? We'll have to find out next September, won't we? Anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe, be good to one another, and yeah, GoPro Hero 12. If you like HDR, get it.